Hello guys, and welcome back to another Tweaker Man video. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a set of balanced XLR interconnects. Now these are really good quality. These are pure silver, and they contain a silver plated copper braid in them. Now these are very nice plugs as well, which I picked up from China, which I'll show you, which I'll put a link down below to. So let's get into this video and I'll show you how to make them. So these are all the products we need on the workbench here to produce this balanced XLR interconnects. So if you can see here, I've already made one up totally, because these videos become very long and I need to speed them up. So I've made one side up. There we go. You've got your three conductors that side, and you've got your three conductors this side with a braid that's going to be grounded out as well. So I've also made up two of the conductors already for the other side, which I'm going to show you how to make. And I've already cut the wire. So the wire for this job, I mean, you can do whatever length you want, but for this job I'm doing it's going to end up at around about 750 mil long. Right, okay, so first of all, this is the product you need. This is 4/9 pure silver, and we're using a 0.5 mil conductor. Now you can use copper. If you want to use copper, I suggest you use a 0.4 mil wire. The reason I up the gauge is because I think that when you go smaller on the silver, it tends to sound over bright. Some people think that silver is over bright anyway, and they don't really like the sound of it, which is fine. Well, you can use copper. It's the same process. So to do this job, we're going to need a array of tools. We're going to need some nylon braid. I've already cut some heat shrink up. I'll put all the information that you need in the description below. We've got some really nice XLR plugs here. We need some silver plated copper braid, and our good old trusty PTFE tape. We'll need a soldering iron and a heat gun. So we're going to get into this video now. Right, okay, so we're going to need some PTFE tape to start with, and we're going to start wrapping this pure silver 0.5 mil wire. Now you can see here I've wrapped this 3 times with the PTFE tape. Now this PTFE tape is high density PTFE tape. This is a bit more of a superior product than your standard one. So what we need to do now is just to peel back the PTFE tape there. Now this first part is a bit more difficult. When you get the first layer on it, it slips about a little bit. So you need to just persevere with it and take your time. You need to start it and try to pinch it with your finger there while you get it wrapped around. I'll get it started off, and then I'm going to wrap it all the way down and back up again, and then we'll come back and show you what it looks like afterwards. So you want to go right the way down to the end of the wire, and then you want to come back on yourself and then come back on yourself again. So I'll be back in a second once I've done that. So we've come to the end of our first layer, so we just want to turn it round and go back on ourselves again now. Now you can get it into your fingers like this, hold it in place and then spin it. There we go. And when we get back to the other end, we're going to turn around and come back, and then we'll show you just the last bit of that. So we're coming to the end of our third layer of PTFE tape. It's going to take it to the end, spin it round on ourselves and come back slightly. Now this is quite fiddly, this process, so you have to bear with it. Right, okay, so we've chopped that off. Now to indicate what conductors what, you can put a bit of heat shrink on the end of them, different colours, but for now I'm just going to be using a black marker pen and a highlighter. So what we're going to do is just put a piece of just colour that in there, around there a little bit, just so we know what's both ends, so we know that This is one conductor, because you don't want to get down the other end. I mean, you can use your multimeter if you've got to check it, but it still is quicker to do it like this, I think. Right, so that's one conductor there. The second conductor, we're just going to use a highlighter pen. Doesn't always go. It's enough to indicate what you need anyway, what conductors what. So that's one in there, and the other end we'll just leave white, because the other one will just leave white, and we'll know that that's the other conductor. Right, so we've got our conductors here already, so we're going to put them in line like so, and line them all up, and now we're just going to twist them as we come down here. You need to do this bit by hand, there's no point, this is very fine wire, you don't want to mess the wire up, so you just want to keep on twisting them together down. Give it a nice twist. So I've made this one over a bit bigger than the other one, because I need to cut it back. So I'll twist this down to the bottom, and I'll be back in a second. So we've got it twisted. It's a very nice twist there. It's like an umbilical cord. So what we've got to do now is we've got to give this 2 layers of PTFE tape to hold the twist in place again, because it's vital to keep that in place. And then we're going to be putting our silver plated braid over the top of it. So we just want to start again, then run ourselves. If you get it in your fingers, you hold the PTFE tape like so, and then just run it down. It goes out lovely and smooth. So I'm going to give this 2 layers, and then I'll be back. So now we've covered this in 2 layers of PTFE tape. It's a very nice twist. It's exactly the same size as the other one. So all we need to do now is we need to cover it in this silver plated braid. So what I'm going to do is take it down to there, and we're going to chop this off down to about there. Just shoot it over the end, make it bigger than what you need. There's nothing worse than cutting it too small. And then we can just take this out of, pull this back and take the tube out from the inside of it. Lay that down there, and then we've just got to wrap some PTFE tape around the end of the conductors, because they'll get a bit tangled up into the silver plated braid. So we just want to wrap a few layers around this. We're going to remove this afterwards. It's only just to guide it through the braid easier. Right, okay, so I've been switching from the studio into my house to do this, because my son's at his PC and I need him to film these bits, and I'm going to film the rest of it myself again. Right, so now just want to push that through there, take it right the way down there. This is going to be bigger than what it is, what it needs. Okay, so just pull that back like so there, and now we'll push that up a bit further to there, and now we're going to just start wrapping this, the whole of the braid, with 3 layers of PTFE tape, because we want to make sure the braid is nicely covered and it doesn't oxidize at any time. We've got the silver plated braid there, which is one we don't want it too long, so we're just going to chop some of that off there. And now we've got to tease it open. So we're going to use our screwdriver here just to tease it open. Well, you can do a lot of it with your fingers to start with. Just open it up like that. Just tease it open with your fingers. It's quite easily done. As I said, I'll put everything in the description below, links to it all, so you can just go on and purchase all this stuff. So much easier. Somebody said to me, why don't I produce my own store and sell all this stuff, so it's easy for people just to buy it off of me. But the reason for that is then I'm going to have to make profits on it, and the whole idea of this running this channel is to save people money. Honestly, I'm not interested in making loads of money out of doing this. It's just a hobby for me, and if I can save all you audiophiles money by making fabulous cables, and I mean fabulous, I mean, for instance, this cable here is going to cost, to buy something as good as this pure silver, just go on to Russ Andrews. He's the easiest one to check out. Nordos cables, all those expensive manufacturers. And I'll tell you what, this will easily beat a lot of those cables. It'll knock the socks off of them, trust me. I've been cable building for so long. What I don't know about cables isn't worth knowing, to be honest with you. So we're getting gradually teasing that down. Okay, so just try to tease it all open like that, and then we just want to take a little handful of them. Say that piece there, say pull that back and just twist that round. And going back to that, going back to saying what I was saying about knocking the socks off of other cables, remember this is peanuts to make this, and that's how much money's made in cables. What you got to remember with these companies though, they do put research into cables, where my research, I'm not charging anybody for that. What you don't see behind the scenes, I make up loads of cables and listen to them and just work out what I think of the sound quality of them, and then I just give you my honest opinion and make the cables, and then you can see what's how it's going. Right, okay, so I hope you can see that on the video now. All I've got to do now is just to wrap a bit more PTFE tape just around the braid where it sticks out a little bit there, just to, you want to keep that nice and neat looking, and that'll do the job. Right, so we'll just chop those off with the scissors. Chop that off with the scissors now. So we're nearly at the end. We've just got to terminate the two of them now. Well, I'll terminate one myself, and then I'll come back and show you how to terminate the other one. Right, so we'll leave that on there for the moment, because what we need to do is we need to shreddle it through our braid, our nylon braid. So you can just pull that back for a minute, push that into there. Now what I've done with this braid is I've already pre-cut this, but I've made it slightly shorter for a reason that I'll show you in a minute. Right, okay, that's been a bit of a bugger to get that over there now. Right, okay, let's just open that up a bit more. What I'll do is I'll singe the ends up with this on the soldering iron, so it keeps it nice and neat. So let's just turn that round again, get that through there. So just pop over the end now, hopefully. There we go. There we go. That's better. Pull it back a little bit. There we go. So we just got to push that right down. And it's got to go right down to the end of the cable, so I'll be back in a second. So we're coming to the end now of putting the nylon braid on. Just popping it out the end there. There we go. Pull that back. So this has to go down a bit further, because this in there, it's because these plugs now have only got small openings, so we have to modify them to get such a thick cable in there, you see. So we just need to push that back down again a bit further now, and then what we're going to be doing, there we go, that's about the same on both ends here now. Right, we're going to be covering the ends now in some heat shrink, black heat shrink. Pull those off. Now there's our conductors, pull them apart. Okay, so I've already pre-cut some of this heat shrink here, so we're going to slide that over. Now this gets a bit fiddly as well. Interconnects are probably the hardest cables to make, believe it or not. They are quite difficult. it's a fiddly old thing to I'm getting tongue tied. It's very fiddly, and even doing it on this video, I find it more fiddly than when I do it myself. I can just be really fluent on my own, and I knock these out really fast, although I am very fast at making them even on these videos. But you imagine if you was hand making these as a business, which I was doing in the past, you had to get fast at them, or you wouldn't make no money out of them. So they've got to be good, and they've got to be quick to make as well. For you guys, it doesn't have to be like that. You can just, you know, take your time, do a nice job of it, because you want a nice job for yourself. So there we go. We've got our heat shrink over that end. We're just going to pop to the other end and put our heat shrink over that, and I'll be back in a second. So now we've got our heat shrink on. We're just now to heat the gun up. Get our heat shrink gun here going, and just shrink down the heat shrink. There we go, that's right. Remember to keep it back from the nylon braid, because the nylon braid can melt very easy. There we go. Spin it round a bit. Right, to this end now. There we go. We've got our other cable made up now. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be turning our attention to terminating these two cables onto the plugs. So we'll be showing you how to do that now. Right, okay, this is our female XLR plug, and this is our male. So in able to fit this cable into here, we've got to modify the back of the plug because it's just too big. So what we're going to be doing is just unscrewing the plug first. Okay, we're going to be discarding this cable gripper bit inside, which clamps around the cable, and then it helps to stop the cable moving, because it won't go in the plug with this size cable. So we've got to get rid of that. And what we've got to do now is we've got to cut the back part of this plug down. So we'll feel it there, and we need to just chop the back rubber off of there, like so. There we go. So we've reduced it there, and then we're going to take it over onto linisher, and we're just going to sand it down a bit. So here is the disc sander, or linisher with the back part, but I tend to just use a disc sander part on it. So we need to use this to sand the back of the plug up. There we go. That's the back of the plug there. Get the black part off of it. Right, okay, that's one. Now we need to do the second one. That's the second one. So now we've got our plug now. We've just sanded the back of it on the linisher. Now we've got a needle file here, so all we're going to be doing is just filing the inside out a little bit, because this is a very thick wire, you see. So that's one, and this is the second part of it. I don't know if you can see that very well there. So that's those. Now we're going to just see whether they fit over the plug now, whether the plug fits in over the cable, because it's still quite thick. And there you go, still a little bit tight, so I'm just going to ease a bit more off of that plug and be back in a second. So we've sanded a bit more out of the back of the plug housing there to make the hole bigger. You always have to modify stuff when you're building cables like this. All these plugs are never made for the thickness of the cable that I make. That's what makes these cables so good. So we've got it up to there now. There is our 3 conductors. So we're going to put our plug in and start soldering it. But before we do that, we've got another thing we need to do. We've got some glue lined heat shrink here that we need to pop over the cable, both ends. Don't forget to do this, because this is the bit that's going to hold the plug in place. Bearing in mind you haven't got this piece in the plug which grips it and holds it in place. So these are the bits, otherwise what will happen is the plug will be a bit floppy and loose, and then the conductors will gradually start to work loose over a period of time. So here's the front part of our XLR plug there. We're just going to pop the back out of it there, and we're going to put it into here. Into the vise there, so we can clamp it in there. And now this is our soldering diagram here. So this is for the female XLR and this is for the male XLR. So what we're going to be doing now is we're just going to load up the soldering iron and just put a couple of bits of solder on these on the pins of this XLR, the back of them, just so it's easier for when you put the wire in, just to get it to get it solder on really easy. Sorry, I have to think about these things when I'm doing this, because it's I'm talking at the same time. I see other people, they just do their videos, they don't talk, they just put words up or say something over the top of it afterwards, which I don't do. So unfortunately you have to listen to me rabbiting on all the time. But right, okay, so we've done that. So now what we need to do now is we need to get our we need to get our cable up and solder it in place. So before we solder our male XLR plug on, we just need to put a bit of solder on the ends of these conductors here, just so it solders easier when it comes to soldering them on. Now I'm going to attempt to solder these on. So we're going by our male diagram here, which you can see there. Okay, so we've got our ground on number 1 is our ground, number 2 is our positive, and number 3 is the negative. So I've indicated these with colours. So my black is my negative. It's my ground, sorry. And before we do that, actually what we've got to do is we've just got to wrap a piece of PTFE tape around this braid there, because we don't want that touching anything in the actual, when we get it inside the plug, because that's going to get all very messy and not very good. So we're just going to run a piece around that and then run it back on itself. Cut that off there. Right, okay, I need to pull this camera out a bit for this. Oh, I'm going in now. There you go. Pull it out for this bit of it. So we'll just wrap the that got a bit messy, that is. Don't like messy work. Bring that back. Pull that round and over. Don't need too much on there because we've got to cut this back a bit. We need to cut this this braid back. Now this is very fiddly, this bit. It is quite fiddly, even for me. It becomes fiddly and you've got to really take your time on it. I mean, in these videos it tends to, I have to try to do it fairly quick to show you, otherwise the video will really drag on. So what we want to do is bring that braid around, because that's going to be connected to this to the ground, and then the white's going up there and the red's going there, or should I say the orange in my, to bring that down there. Right, okay. Right, okay, so we're gonna pull this back a bit more there, up there, because that's too long, and then we're going to chop that off now. We don't need that long anymore. That'll be about right there. Right, okay. Let's do this now. Right, okay, so we need to load our soldering iron up, because remembering we're doing this on our own and we haven't got my son here filming, so I have to load the soldering iron up with solder first. I hope you can see this. I'm going to come in from the side here. What's it look like on there? It doesn't look very good. I'll bring the camera around the other way. So that should be better in that position now. Right, okay, so we're just going to solder our black in place. That's gone off there. Then the white is the negative that we're going to come out of there. Let's put that back in and tighten it up a bit. So much easier in a vise. You can just pop it back in. I mean, you can see how fiddly these jobs are. There we go. Right, okay, so we just need to load our soldering iron up for the next piece again. Right, okay, so you've noticed now that I forgot to do something at this point, which is very good. It's a good lesson for everybody to learn this. So just pull that off again for the second. We didn't put the back part of the housing on, the plug housing. So that's got to go on there, the back part of the plug housing first. Now, don't make that mistake, because it's bloody bugger once you've got it on, and now you've got to take it all off again. There we go. So let's go for it again. We're going to pull that back again. We're going to solder that one on. So the black's going on first, and then the white's going on, and then the right. There we go, that's one on. Got to hook that one round the back now. To there. That one's got to go over to there, and that's got to go around to there. Right, okay, so we need to load our soldering iron up again. It's moved again. That's it. This one in now. One more to go. Then we just got to swap it round so we can show you how to. More solder on there. That's it. Right. Okay. So now we just got to. We've got to bring it round now, and we need to now solder on the braid. Now you can solder it onto this piece here, which we're going to do. Just to pull that back. So that's a bit long, so I need to chop that back a bit. So now we've got it in place there. We're going to we're going to solder on our braid onto the that's it. So there you go. That's our. This is going to be our mouth. Sorry. So where's the mouth there? That's it there. So we've just got to put that in place now. Slide that over. Get it into the right place. That's the right place. Bring the back of the housing up there. Hope you can see this is really difficult. I'm just going to try to bring out the video out a bit more. That's it. Just need to screw this up now. There we go. So now we're going to turn our attention now to this end now, which is the female end. So we're just going to pop this out of here. So that bit there needs to be, it needs to come out the bottom there. Just push something in there just to push it out. Okay. So now we're going to, you see that there, there you go. That's the back of that one. Clamp it in here. Again. Okay, now we haven't forgot anything now. We've got our heat shrink there in the middle, which we're going to slide up both ways after. So now we've got to look at the female, which is all of the differences is a positive and the ground around the other way. So the positive is this side, and that's it. So we know where we are now. So we'll pull those back like that. So the ground is the black. So before we do that again, we need to just load our load the pins up with a little bit of solder. You know, when I'm doing these videos, I always think they look rubbish. They come out rubbish. It's very difficult. It's really hard to do it unless you've got a really proper, you know, you've got someone who can film you really properly. It's really difficult doing it on your own like this, but it gives you some idea on how to do it. Now we just need to solder up the ends of these pins. So just pull the sheathing back slightly there. Just put a little bit of solder on those before we start. And that on there. Right, okay. So now all we've got to do now is to load our soldering iron up with some more solder there. I'm going to offer the cable up again now. And we're going to just solder in our ground wire first. Hasn't gone in very well that. So I say you need quite a bit of solder on the end of these to do this. One. Nope, it's come off. So let's do it again now. I'm just going to load our soldering iron up again with a bit more solder. Get our ground wire soldered in first. That's that. Then we're going to solder in the negative next. Push it up a bit, bend that round. There we go. And then we're going to just solder in our positive. Pull that down. It's really difficult to see this actually on video. Not sure whether you can see that or not really. It's quite... I'll show you after I've soldered it, just to show you how it looks and that. Right, that's it. I'll release that. There we go. So we've got our ground wire there, our negative and our positive. So now we've got to do is just to fit the back of the housing on now, the plug housing. It just goes right the way through there, if you can see that. Can you see that? Nope. Oh, let's come back out again, sorry. That's it. This isn't a very good video today, this one again, guys, but I'm trying my best. Right, so we've put the back of the housing on now. All we've got to do is flip that up to there. We're going to spin that round now. Just to tighten the back of the plug housing up. Right, that's that. Now all we've got to do now is just slide our heat shrink up now, put it over the end of the plug and shrink that down. Right, so just going to shrink that down now with a heat shrink gun, with a heat gun. Right, that's one side. To the other. I'm going to push that up best you can. Get it up as tight as you can, actually, because this is glue line. So what this effectively will do is to keep the cable in place, the plugs in place, I should say, so it doesn't move around. And that's it now. So we've got our two, this one and this one. We've got our two cables made up. So I'll go and switch to the other room now and I'll show you them. So these are the interconnects finished, the balanced XLRs. These are our plugs here on the end. Okay, so I hope you like this video. It's really difficult filming this video. It's the wire's very thick. When I make these, I make very thick wires because they've got a lot of insulation around them. They're built to last. Any questions, don't hesitate to ask me. I'll put everything in the description below that you need to make these interconnects. So all I've got to say now is thanks for watching another Tweaker Man video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget, the most important thing is to give this video a like. Thank you very much for watching.